The shocking burial. Drums thumped, slow and heavy, their echoes stretching across the village. Feet shuffled through the dust, a long procession winding toward the waiting grave. Women wailed, voices rising and falling like restless waves. Men walked in silence, shoulders stiff, faces carved from stone. The coffin moved forward, steady, unshaken by the cries around it. A father stood at the front, his hands clenched at his sides, eyes dry, lips pressed tight. Grief sat in his chest, heavy as the earth waiting to swallow his son. But another weight pressed harder, one that left no room for tears. Whispers slithered through the crowd, hushed but sharp. A young man does not die for nothing. No sickness, no wounds. One moment, laughter beneath the evening sky. The next, lifeless on the ground. Breath gone, body still. It made no sense. The priest had spoken of spirits, of things beyond the reach of man. But easy answers did not satisfy a father who had known his son. A father who had watched him dream, plan, build. Life does not just stop. The dead do not just die. Long before the sun stirred, in the hush of deepest night, rough fingers had pried open the coffin's lid. Trembling hands had tucked a tiny eye into the shadows, hidden where none would see. A whisper had filled the dark, low, steady, unyielding. If truth lies beneath the earth, I will see it. Now, shovels struck dirt, sending it tumbling down. Dust rose, curling in the hot air. One handful, then another. The coffin disappeared, swallowed by the waiting ground. The priest's chant rose above the drumbeats, but a father heard only the pounding in his chest. The last handful fell. It was done. The people turned, moving like weary shadows. The wailing faded, leaving only the wind. Night crept in, pressing against walls, slipping through cracks, settling in empty corners. Somewhere an old owl hooted, calling to those who listened. A father sat alone, his fingers wrapped tight around a small device. Eyes fixed, breath shallow. Midnight approached. What would the dead reveal? The family's secrets. The village knew him well. The boy who never lazed under the sun. The son who woke before the cocks and worked long after the lanterns dimmed. He had sharp hands, a quick mind, and laughter that carried across the fields. The elders often nodded when they spoke his name. A young man of promise. A son to make a father proud. And soon, a husband to Adwa, the village beauty, the girl every mother wished for her son. Their union was certain, their future bright. A father swelled with pride. His name would live on through this son, his blood strong and unwavering. Yet not every heart in the household had been filled with joy. Even as a boy, the warmth of a mother's love had never touched him. She had fed him, clothed him, nursed his wounds, but her hands were always careful, never tender. Her voice never sang when she called his name. She did what duty required, nothing more. The village noticed. The village whispered. A mother's love should not feel like obligation. Kofi had never asked why, but silence does not erase the weight of knowing. And there was another, one who carried his own burden. Kwame, the eldest, the firstborn, the rightful heir. The land should have been his, the future carved for him, but their father's eyes had begun to rest too often on the younger. The clever one, the ambitious one. The evening air had once crackled with their anger. Words had cut like blades. Hands had nearly curled into fists. A father had stepped between them, voice stern, face lined with warning. Land, legacy, love. A dangerous wedge to place between two sons. Then a sudden death. A young man, strong as an ox, falling like a leaf. No warning, no sickness, no answers. Baba Mensa had seen death before. He had watched the old grow weak. He had seen the sick waste away. He had buried friends whose time had run dry. But this was wrong. Yet in the village, to question death is to invite the spirit's wrath. To demand answers is to challenge the gods. No one dares. So lips stayed sealed, heads bowed, feet moved on. But a father could not silence his thoughts. The past played like a forgotten drumbeat. His wife's cold eyes, his son's clenched fists, the whispers that never quite faded. Had the hand of betrayal rested within his own home? The night stretched thick and silent. The wind did not stir. The insects did not sing. A father reached for the small device, fingers firm, breath steady. He pressed play. The footage from the coffin. The screen remained black. No movement, no sound. Just the silent grip of death. Baba Mensa leaned closer, his breath slow and measured. His fingers curled tight, his chest rising and falling with the weight of what he was about to witness. Then a sound, faint, uncertain. A soft rustling like shifting fabric or a breath caught between worlds. The darkness stirred. The wooden walls trembled. Was it the weight of the earth settling? Or something else? Baba Mensah's pulse pounded in his ears. A shadow passed, a flicker, barely there. Then the lid of the coffin quivered, ever so slightly. His stomach clenched. The screen jumped, a grainy, shaking blur. Then, impossible. Two eyes snapped open in the darkness. Kofi. The breath fled Baba Mensah's lungs. His son's lips moved, cracked and dry, forming words too soft to hear. His chest rose, his fingers twitching weakly against the wood. Baba Mensah felt the air shift around him, thick, heavy, suffocating. Kofi was alive, a whisper, hoarse and broken. Why? Why did you do this to me? Baba Mensah gripped the table, his knuckles bone white. The question clung to the air, unanswered. Who was he speaking to? The screen shuddered again, flickering without warning. Light. The coffin yawned open. Two figures loomed above. Baba Mensah's heart stopped. Mame Essie, his own wife, his own son. The earth had not swallowed Kofi. The spirits had not claimed him. They had placed him here. They had buried him themselves. Mame Essie knelt by the coffin. Her face was carved from stone, unreadable, untouched by sorrow. Kofi's hand rose toward her, weak, desperate, a plea. She did not take it. You should have stayed dead, she murmured. Baba Mensah's world tilted. The breath in his chest turned to ice. The image flickered. Kwame shifted forward, his movements sharp, deliberate. A white cloth unfurled in his hands. Kofi's eyes widened. His lips parted, perhaps to scream, to beg. The cloth pressed against his face. The coffin rocked. His son's body jerked, struggled, kicked. Fingers clawed against wood. Muffled cries strained against the suffocating fabric. Then stillness. The screen froze. Baba Mensah stared. The silence in the hut pressed against his ribs, thick and unrelenting. His own wife, his own blood. They had done this. His hands trembled, not with fear, not with grief, with rage. Outside, the village lay in peaceful slumber, unaware of the storm now brewing in the heart of a father. Inside, Baba Mensah's grip tightened around the camera. By dawn, justice would come, the father's reckoning. The night air pulsed with quiet, thick with the weight of what had been revealed. But the silence would not last. Baba Mensah stormed into the house, the door slamming hard against the wall. His breath tore through his chest, raw, jagged, like the rage twisting in his belly. The lantern trembled. Shadows stretched long across the walls. Mame Essie and Kwame looked up, startled. Their eyes flickered to the camera clutched in his hand. Baba Mensah's voice struck like a war drum. You buried my son alive. Mame Essie stumbled back. Her hands flew to her mouth, her breath hitching. Kwame did not move. His jaw tightened, his fists curling at his sides. There was no escape now. Tears spilled down Mame Essie's face. Her body shuddered. Kofi was never yours, Mensah. The words cracked through the room, leaving only silence in their wake. The wind outside howled like a mourning spirit. Baba Mensah did not move. His feet felt rooted, his breath locked in his chest. Mame Essie's voice shook. He was another man's child. The air thickened, pressing heavy against his ribs. She had loved before him. Another man, another life, a secret buried beneath duty and fear. I was afraid, she whispered. Afraid you would cast me out, afraid of what you would do. Her head bowed. The weight of years fell from her shoulders, but the weight on Baba Mensah's only grew heavier. Kwame stepped forward, his voice sharp with bitterness. And what of me? He spat. You always loved Kofi more. His fists trembled, not with guilt, but with anger. The land, the house, your love. His breath came ragged, his body tense with years of resentment. All should have been mine. Baba Mensah's fingers curled tighter around the camera. His knuckles turned white. His wife, the woman who had lied, his son. The son who had murdered his own blood. The betrayal crushed his chest, hollowing him from the inside. The machete glinted under the dim lantern glow. Baba Mensah lifted it slowly, his voice like iron. Then let me show you what it means to take everything. The blade swung, shadows leaped. A scream split the night, sharp, raw, echoing through the village. And the silence was broken forever, judgment by fire. The machete did not fall. Baba Mensah's rage burned, but his hands did not strike. Instead, they worked swiftly, binding Mame Essie and Kwame with thick rope. He dragged them through the dirt road, their bodies stumbling, their cries lost beneath his furious voice. Awaken, elders, wake and witness. Doors creaked open, faces emerged, torches flaring against the dark. By the time the sky bruised with the first hint of dawn, the village had gathered. A circle formed. Shadows stretched across the ground. Baba Mensah raised the camera high. Let the ancestors witness their crime. The footage flickered. The silence was shattered. Gasps, cries, hands clapped over mouths. A child wept, clutching his mother's wrapper. The elders watched, their faces carved from stone. Then the village priest stepped forward, his staff tapping against the earth. "The spirits do not sleep," he declared. "They have seen your betrayal." His voice swelled, ancient and heavy. "Blood calls for blood. The ground itself rejects you." His staff struck the dirt once, twice. The air trembled. "A curse shall follow you beyond this life." Mami Essie wailed. Her body folded, hands clawing at the dust. Kwame's lips curled, defiant even now. "This village is blind. You all follow an old man's foolish words." The elders murmured among themselves, their heads bowed in grave agreement. They shall face the same fate they gave Kofi. A hush swept the crowd, then movement, steady, purposeful. Hands grasped shovels. The grave was dug deep. The earth, cold and unforgiving, opened once more. Mama Essie screamed, her voice raw, her fingers scraping the dirt as they dragged her forward. Kwame thrashed, cursed, but strong arms held him firm. The villagers did not speak. They had loved once, shared meals, shared laughter. Now they turned to executioners. The two were lowered inside. Their pleas turned hoarse, then choked with dust. Baba Mensa stood at the edge. He did not move. His vengeance had found its course, yet his heart was empty. Kofi would never walk the village paths again, never call him father, never laugh in the sun. A shovel lifted, the first handful of soil fell. A cry from below, another, then another. The dirt swallowed their voices, muffling their sins. The final handful landed with a soft thud. Silence. The wind howled, whispering a name. "Kofi." The unseen eyes of justice. Baba Mensa knelt before the fire, the camera resting heavy in his hands. The flames flickered, their hungry tongues reaching for the truth he held. For a long moment he hesitated. This small device had unraveled the past, unearthed secrets buried beneath lies. It had shown him the faces of those he loved, twisted by greed, rotted by betrayal. With a deep breath, he let it fall. The plastic curled, the screen cracked. The footage burned, vanishing into smoke. "Some truths are too heavy for the living," he murmured. "The dead had their justice. The living, what was left of them, would bear the weight." Baba Mensa lifted his eyes to the night sky. The stars blinked down, silent witnesses to all that had come to pass. "Kofi, I am sorry," he whispered. The words felt empty, swallowed by the wind. He thought of the elder's warning. Betrayal does not begin with death. It begins in the heart, and once it takes root, it poisons everything. That night, as the village slept, a whisper rose with the wind, soft, distant, yet unmistakable. "Father!" Villagers stirred, hearts pounding, but outside there was only the rustling of the trees.